everyone, and welcome. Welcome to Pink Lady Presents It Ain't Over Till We Say It's Over. And the best part about that is that we celebrate lives well lived. Today, I have to tell you, I'm bare feet, probably 4'11" and a half. I mean, I'm cheating here. But with my heels, I managed 5 feet, maybe. And I have always admired women that are tall, elegant, with an air of just authority. And I'm looking at someone now who is encompassing everything that I've always admired in a woman, and that's Dr. Barbara Young. I mean, Dr. Barbara Young, I first met with your cousin, which is our very, very, very dear friend, Ambassador Diane Watson.
Yes.
And I remember when Diane introduced us, and I looked at you and I went to myself, wow, is she not elegantly beautiful? And then they said, you're a doctor, and then so forth and so on. And I'm looking at her and going, wow, this woman encompasses just everything. Dr. Young, you're empowering, inspiring, knowledgeable teacher, committed to the community and doing so many things. Main thing is helping people find a life within themselves. Yes. Tell us about that.
Well, it's sort of a long story, but let me just share this with you. When you're talking about the height, we shared a little bit earlier how I grew up and I was at 13, 5'8", wow, and to the bane of my mother's existence with a size 9 shoe. So I wasn't exactly the girl who was most admired. I was the girl that liked the little short, petite women like you, and I had to be in the middle or stand on the back row.
Right.
And so it was not exactly pretty growing up being the tallest girl in the class.
Yeah.
So, but, overcoming that was really a part of my mother. Of
really?
Having me, when she recognized that I was sort of shrinking, and she said, you're not going to shrink. You're going to walk with books on your head.
Oh, wow.
You're going to hold your shoulders up, and you're going to stand tall. And I built my core of standing tall by walking with books on my head.
Oh, my goodness.
And then later cans. The big, number 2 cans or whatever. And so she would grill me to walk. And so at 16, I went to college at 15. And at 16, I started modeling. Because I went to a store and I just started trying on hats.
Right.
I just started trying on hats in San Francisco in a store. And the owner, because people were buying the hats, and he asked me would I come and model hats for him. And then he had a brother who down the street, that was in San Francisco, had a fur shop. And he asked me would I model his furs with another relative in Sacramento who had a Cadillac agency. So I started doing photography modeling with fur coats
and you
vintage.
Were what, 15, 16?
I was by 17 then.
Wow.
17. So, but I am that woman who at 18, 19, with one child, well, 2 children, one 9 months old, one 19 months old, and a husband who walked out and left me with 4 50-cent pieces. I am that woman who was almost homeless with 2 children, and a grandmother says, I don't want you to come and live with me because I don't want children running around. So I could have been homeless. But I am that woman, and look at me today, but God.
Yes.
And so it's been a journey. And one of the things that I wanted in my heart was through all of the experiences that I've learned is to be able to share those experiences to empower other women. I don't believe that you necessarily have to go through the same experiences that I did to learn.
No.
But you can benefit.
Because we all have our own experiences.
We have our stories to share.
Right.
And so it's been quite a journey.
But that's very unusual because normally families will take you in. And your grandmother...
Well, I believe in divine intervention. And she did take me in. She did finally allow me to come in after some intervention by an uncle. But I knew that I had to
Go on your
move and go on my own.
So where did you go from there?
So I went from there. I tell the story when I traveled in Europe that I walked the streets of Berkeley, but I was not a streetwalker. I was walking looking for a job.
Okay.
So I went down looking at all the establishments
Right.
in Berkeley to find a job, and there was a gentleman who had a cleaning establishment, and he called me and he said, I hear that Metropolitan Life Insurance Company is hiring. And so I said, but I don't even have the money to get over there on the trolley at that time. Remember
Wow,
the trolley cars?
yes.
And so he said, and he went to his cash register and he gave me $1. 50 cents over there and 50 cents back. So then I begged my grandmother, could I have $15? Because I went to Goodwill to buy a suit. I didn't have any clothes for an
my
interview.
goodness.
So I lived in Goodwill for a week, shopping, shoes, suit, hat, brooch.
Knowing you, it went together phenomenally. I'll tell you that.
And I took the trolley
Right.
to San Francisco, walked up 8 blocks in high-heeled shoes to Metropolitan Life Insurance Company, which is Ritz-Carlton today.
Right.
Walked in like I owned it. As a mother, told me, walk in, walk tall.
Right.
And I got hired. And that was quite an adventure. But let me just sort of say this too, to this story, is that 20 years later, I became the vice president of the Goodwill Board in Long Beach in charge of 14 stores. So, I mean, it's really interesting how there is poetic justice in the world.
There
It
is.
does happen.
So after you were in the insurance,
I was in the insurance company for 4 years. I had gone to UC Berkeley. And because there was difficulties with the bridge narrating actually they were building a new pathway.
Right.
And it was causing me challenges trying to get to work. I had 2 children and trying to get to San Francisco. I decided to go back to UC Berkeley. And so I went to school here and I want a
Okay.
job. So they said, the only thing we have is in electrical engineering. I said, I'll take it. So
Why not?
So
Right,
I went to work
okay.
in electrical engineering as a clerk typist, and I moved up to an administrative assistant, and I went from electrical to mechanical to aeronautical sciences.
No
when I started
way.
working and hiring interns from different countries and training them. Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
So you have what I call in our language chutzpah. I mean, you just,
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean,
I
you
was
just-
told that.
Oh yeah.
I was told that by a good friend because I wanted a car. This is another little story.
Yeah.
And I needed transportation. So my uncle at the time, this is back in
Right.
Berkeley, said, well, there's a used car place out in Oakland and I'll take you to that. And I said, well, I have $60 that I had saved up to buy a car.
Right.
So I walked in the car lot and it was sort of dusk. And so the owner came out and I said, I want this car right here. And he said, well, that's my car. And I said, great, I'll give you $60 cash for it. And he sold it to me. And he
I
said,
love it.
I'm selling it to you because you have chutzpah.
Chutzpah,
And that's the
there you
first
go.
time I heard that word. And you just walk up and, he said, this is my car. And I said, well, I'll give you $60 for it. And that was a 47 Ford Coupe, my first
Oh
car.
my Lord.
So I have a lot of these little stories of one of the things is that you have to feel good about yourself.
Yes, you do.
And it is a journey within.
Correct.
I traveled within for 9 years to know who Barbara is.
When you say travel within, you mean searched your soul.
Searched my soul.
Okay.
Who are you?
Correct.
What are your motivations?
Right.
What do you value? What is your vision? Where do you see yourself going?
Correct.
And taking time to really focus on me. And I found something that I talk about in my book. It's like looking in the mirror.
I want to tell people the name of the book is Dancing on Broken Legs. You have to explain all
It's
that because
metaphoric.
that's
Dancing on broken
tell-
legs
Okay.
simply means I went through challenges and triumphs. My legs and broken legs, metaphorically, but I became a diva, divinely inspired, victorious with authority. So it's dancing on broken legs, the journey of a diva, divinely inspired, victorious with authority. That's me.
Love it.
So it was really interesting too about this because one of the things that I did experience was a tragedy of a mother losing a child. So my third child, who was a girl child and who had juvenile diabetes at the age of 8, the onset, and who died at age 30 from the complications of diabetes. So that book that I wrote, the
Right.
title was Born the Night She Died.
Oh my goodness.
She was on life
Dr. V.
support for 9 days, and I had to let her go. And the night that I did, that book came to me because I've been through many, many journeys,
Right.
metaphorically, where my legs were broken, where I was brokenhearted. Things happen, but you can survive.
You can.
But you need to go internal, and that's what I wanted to give to women when I actually launched my personal
Well,
life.
what was the
Best
first thing that you
seminar.
did? How did you first decide, and how did you first get that out to other women, Doctor?
Well, one of the things is that I first discovered it by looking in the mirror. I had 2 children. I was working in San Francisco, and I would come at night, and they were 6 and 7, and I would bathe them, make sure they got to bed on
Right.
time, and then I would spend time. It's me time. I did not date for 5 years. I was so absorbed with raising my children, working,
Right.
and at night I would look in this mirror, and if you remember the old time vanities, you had a round mirror and a
Yes.
low vanity, and I would sit, and my hair long,
Right.
and I would brush my hair every night. And one night I discovered, looking in that mirror, I looked in the mirror so intently that it was all of a sudden, it was like a disengagement
Oh wow.
where I'm looking at someone else. It was as though I was looking at a stranger in the mirror. And I began to critique that image. You know, your nose is a little bit too long. Or, oh, your eyes are not big enough. And I started picking things
Interesting.
apart.
Right,
and
right.
and you know, sometimes you're really nasty. You know, sometimes you can really be the word be. and I started that. Well, what happened is I kind of freaked out. But it was really interesting to have a dialogue with the person in the mirror who was me.
Right.
So I did that for 9 days.
No way.
Absolutely. I use that technique now with many, many individuals that I've counseled. Because you need to know who you
Yes,
are.
you do.
But more importantly, you need to know who you are not.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
So I discovered Barbara, that I liked this person.
Okay.
And that was the beginning of a whole transition. The man comes along, in my life.
Right.
And things are moving upward. And I'm traveling upward. And reaching
And
new
feeling good
heights.
about yourself.
Feeling good about myself.
Right. Right.
Went back to school to get a master's degree.
And where did you go to school?
I went to Cal State Sacramento, and I
Okay.
worked at Cal. I transitioned from UC Berkeley to Fresno State University to California State University, Sacramento. I spent 37 years in higher ed.
That's what I meant to ask you about. Because what did you teach? Or did
Well,
you
actually, let me put it this way. I started out as a counselor. I started out as a
okay.
counselor. I became the Associate Director of Admissions, the Associate Director of Financial Aid, and I started from that, and I got a promotion to the California State University System headquarters as the first African American assistant dean.
Yes.
And I went from assistant dean to associate dean to dean, and I also started teaching part-time while I was an assistant dean because I wanted to give back.
And what were you teaching?
I was teaching leadership, public policy,
Yeah.
and human resource management, and I taught it for 14 years.
Oh my goodness.
It's
And the
been an
kids-
interesting career.
It is, and the kids were growing up all this time. I mean,
My kids by then were
right.
grown. I got them out of high school and college, both of them.
And then when did you start the transformational
In 2003,
Okay.
well, actually 2000, I was at the height of my career. And I was traveling all over
the
the United
world.
States.
Right.
No, I was in the United States. I was on several national boards, and I had been appointed by the first board by Assemblyman Willie Brown.
Oh,
And I was
okay.
on the National Respiratory Care Board. And from that, I went to the National Respiratory Care Board. Then I went to the National Institute for Minority Health and Medicine. And then I was on all of these boards, and I became the president of Leadership America Board. So I'm doing all of this, and all of a sudden, I'm at the height of this, and I'm speaking at the National Press Club in Washington, D.C.,
Right.
and I saw my calling. I knew then that I was because there were, I don't know, about 200-300 women there.
Right.
And I got a standing ovation, and I was standing on the
Wait a
podium.
minute, what were you talking about at that moment?
I was talking about the power of empowerment
Okay.
and self and
Right.
leadership, because I'm teaching leadership, right?
Okay.
So I'm combining that with a message for women. It's time, it's your time,
Your time.
to step
It is.
and become the woman that God has intended you to be. and we are leaders, and we can lead. So that was somewhat of the message, and I realized this is my calling.
Yes.
This is what
Yeah.
I'm supposed to do. I came back, and I retired from the California State University. Launched my own business in 2003,
And what was the name of that business?
Personal Best Success, and I couldn't think of a sexy name, so it was Young Enterprises. Just plain Young Enterprises.
I think that's good. I think that was fine.
And I started Personal Life Best Seminars for 35 women.
So it was
And
like a coaching.
it was a 6-hour seminar with me,
Okay. Wow.
learning. And I devised exercises, value clarification models to really learn what I had learned,
Right.
that it begins with the inside out. Women, we have to empty out and then get the good stuff in.
Okay, so 1 minute. Say that over again. So you're starting with there's a class now,
Right.
and so many women are in it. When you begin, do you have them tell you about their life, each one, or so that you know where to kind of go in your speech? I mean,
I start talking about tell me your story. Who am
Okay,
I?
there you go.
Who am I?
Right, okay.
I have an exercise that I've designed, and I've used it everywhere, all over the world, really, with world leaders, as a matter of fact.
Really?
Who am I? And it's called my TST, the 20 statement test. So I ask you to tell me in one word, and you have 20 lines, and I want you to fill in as many of those lines with one word, who you are, in 10 seconds.
that's not
Because
easy.
if you can't tell me
Yeah,
who you are,
right, but that's not easy sometimes.
well, but it becomes easy when I force people to, not force them, but when they are tasked
Yes.
to do
Yeah.
it,
Then they'll do it.
they will do it. And then I will give an explanation of how you really view yourself. If you view yourself from an intensive perspective or extrinsic, it means inward, like I'm affectionate, I'm passionate, I'm lovable. Or would you say I'm a doctor, I am scientific, I am a problem solver? Okay, you see the distinction?
Yes, yes.
So the view of themselves is so important for them to understand this is who I am. And then I have them stand up and read it. That's why it only take 35 women. Because we do intensive work.
Wow.
And then in the afternoon, I had the Oprah show. So what I would actually do in the afternoon is that I'd have ladies, we'd have tables of 6. And I trained facilitators to help me do this.
Oh my goodness.
And
okay.
so, oh yeah, I did this for 13 years.
Wow.
With the Hyatt Regency in Long Beach as my signature hotel.
So when you say you train people to teach like along with you,
I had trained them to become
Okay.
facilitators because we
Okay.
are facilitating women at tables of 6 to do a workbook. I have a whole workbook of exercises. You're going to spend 6 hours with me, but when you leave,
you're
you'll
going to
never
gain
be
a
the
lot.
same again.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And it's changed so many women's lives. Now, here's the thing. Pink Lady, you'll never believe this. I started in 2003, in February 28,
Right.
2003, Hyatt Regency, Signature Hotel.
Right.
I wanted to do it first class. The women bought new suits. Some of the ladies actually bought new outfits to go. They said, well, we know how, Dr. Young, we know how you dress, so we wanted to dress. And I said, well,
I
this
love
is
it.
great because we're not here on Saturdays in
Right.
jeans, because if you're dressed professional, it's going to give you a lift. Okay.
That's right.
Well, in May 2003, this is unbelievable, but I was standing in front of 35 world leaders
Oh
in
my.
Nairobi, Kenya.
Oh, oh, oh,
What had happened is I went on a cruise with Diane Watson,
oh.
and everyone sort of ignored this woman who was from Kenya, and she was traveling alone.
Right.
And I just sort of, I'd see her and I'd say, you look lovely. And she'd say, you look lovely. And we'd have a little
That's talk,
exchange.
right.
And finally, she said, would you come to Kenya and speak to women? Because I understand you're a motivational speaker. I said, I would love to.
Oh my
But
God.
the thing is, how many times have you ever had people invite you
I know,
or
and
say
there's-
that and you never
yeah,
hear from them
right.
again? So I didn't really think much of it. But when I got back from the cruise in August, she called and said, could you come in December to speak to women?
And who was this woman?
Her name, well, she's a woman who is very high profile in Kenya,
Wow.
Rose Mura. And she has the largest employment agency in Nairobi, Kenya, and has a contact with a lot of employers. And what she did was they did a little switcheroo on me. they asked me to come. I called Diane Watson.
Right.
She knows this story well. I said, Diane, I've been invited to go to Africa, to Nairobi, to speak to women, and they think I have a PR agent. They think I have a book. I had nothing. I had absolutely nothing. I didn't have a website. I really had nothing.
Funny.
This is true.
Oh my.
So she said, well, I'll have my cousin act as a PR person for you. So it ended up, long story short,
Right.
I ended up in Nairobi, Kenya. I'm booked and I'm all over the newspapers. I'm on TV with ads promoting me coming. American
No
Motivational
way.
Speaker comes to Kenya.
And she did all this.
Between her and the people in Kenya. I was in
Oh, my
magazines.
goodness.
And I found out the day before the retreat, I had them for 3 days in a resort outside of Nairobi. It was not women, it was world leaders, members of parliament,
Oh my Lord.
Fortune 500, Fortune 400 gentlemen.
And the name of that talk, what was it?
It wasn't a talk, I did leadership, it was a leadership retreat.
Okay.
And so that leadership retreat launched my career in Africa for the next almost 15 years.
Oh my goodness. When you say leadership talk,
I'm talking about leadership theory, I'm talking about change leadership,
Okay.
but I did leadership from a different perspective. What I was talking to them was how you lead. And again, it's about who are you? They had studied all over in England, many of them to South Africa, gone different
yeah,
places
I would
on
think so if
leadership.
they were
so you were
leaders,
thinking,
right.
what would I have to offer?
Yeah.
Leaders, members of parliament.
Right.
But I had a different concept because I'm talking about leading from the inside out.
That's fascinating.
So it was, I
Yes.
used the same materials and exercises that I used with the women.
Right.
And they were so fascinated. And I'll tell you, for example, let me give you a quick
Yeah,
example.
please.
I would say, give me your 5 top values.
Okay.
And I went to a board, and I had each one of them, there were 35, their top values. Okay, so we'd have peace, we had spiritual, we had health, we had family. Okay, they would have,
Right.
just give me 5. And so we compiled them, and we looked at, most of them were career, exercise, but spiritual,
Okay.
family. Okay, I said, all right, now I'm going to give you a pie chart, and I want you to fill in the blank, the percentage of time that you spend on what
each
you
one,
value.
right.
And it was shocking.
They sent more in
Family
Korea.
was like 10%.
Yeah, I was going to say.
So,
you're right.
and talk about spiritual and God, because it meant God spiritual. How many times are you spending with God? How much do you read the Quran or
Yeah.
book,
No, it was
whatever?
probably
Do you
way
read,
down.
Yeah. And that was a
Interesting.
shock. But what it did was affirm
Wake 'em
that
up.
we need to spend more time with families. So after that weekend, on Monday night, I spoke to women at the Stanley Hotel. Several of them were wives of the
these-
husbands.
I love it.
And they're saying to me, what did you do to my husband? He is a changed man.
I
What
love
did
it.
you do? So there
Well,
was
you
some
woke
change.
him up.
There was some change.
you woke
So
him
when
up.
you talk about leadership, I did leadership from a different perspective. And then I did servant leadership when I went back the second year. I had a whole different cohort, and we talked about servant leadership, which was a different concept for them.
I want everyone to see a little bit about your organization and you. So I'm going to go to a video right now.
The most powerful gift we have in this world is the power of choice. And you can choose mediocrity or you can choose greatness. The road to mediocrity is a short step road. It's an easy fix. It's the quick fix that many people want today. The road to greatness is success and failure. It's starting, it's falling, but it's picking yourself up. It's going the extra mile. It's working longer and harder and smarter than anyone else. It's running from being average. My name is Dr. Barbara Young. I am a media personality, but I'm also an entrepreneur, author, and some people call me the transformation success expert. One of the things I do and I love, and that is to re-empower women and to work with individuals through seminars that I provide in group settings, through my television show, The Total Woman Show, where we talk about issues that impact women, not only in the United States, but women globally, representing real issues that will help them and strategies that will help them. The other is radio talk show. That's a medium that I'm able to use and provide a service to listeners who are looking for answers. I have books that I have written that help people. I love the fact that I have a global audience through radio and television. So I get the benefit of interviewing individuals each week who have had incredible lives and incredible stories that they can share to bring hope, to bring encouragement to listeners in 177 countries. It's a range of things, but it all culminates to really putting and speaking life to individuals to help them personally and professionally, but with action strategies that they can use and become more successful.
Wow, that did tell us a lot about what
I've
you.
had so many experiences. So have you. When you get to be our age, you have done a lot.
Well, you're a child, though, compared to where I am. I mean, really.
Well,
I
I've
mean,
done a lot. I've just
you
been really
have.
blessed to have done a lot and still doing.
What is your focus now at this stage in your life?
Well, right
Dr.
now,
B?
I have television and radio.
Right.
I have a radio talk show, as you probably know, and
Right.
I'm in 122 countries.
And it's called?
It's called Transformation for Success.
And it's on what channel?
It's on the Voice America channel.
Okay.
Okay.
And people can just go to Voice
People can
America?
go to voiceamerica.com and they can look at the host,
Dr.
Barbara
Barbara
Young,
Love it.
and catch my show, which is Transformation for Success. I have also, after about 3 years, the owner offered me my own television network.
Ah.
So I have a television network called Transformation Success.
That's what I wanted to know.
And we actually trademarked the name Transformation Success, and it's Transformation Success Television. So I have 8 channels on that network.
Oh.
And on one of the channels, which is the Empowerment Channel,
Right.
I produce a show, such as you, called The Total Woman Show.
That's
So I invite women who are co-hosts, and I have regular co-hosts with me who are on that show, and we have a spotlight guest.
I love
We do
that.
subjects from veterans, the challenges that veterans are having today, narcissism, children of narcissistic parents. We're exploring topics that many people don't talk about.
Correct.
We don't get into politics. We're talking about issues that impact people all over the world because
Right.
it's global. So we're in all these different countries. Women professions, why women don't ask. Why and how to help women get their goods to the market and services. How do we improve on what we already do?
Right.
So I'm excited about the show. I really am.
I think that's fabulous. And when did that one start?
I started that in 2015.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I started radio with, I had LA Talk Radio. I was on Interlight, and I went to LA Talk Radio. And then I went to Voice America. I got asked by the owner to come on Voice America. So I wasn't really seeking this. Really, I did not like my radio voice.
Really?
I
You
did
do it?
not. I cried
Because I'm
every
shooting away from you
Tuesday.
now, and I think it's fabulous. I mean,
I cried every Tuesday.
really.
literally cried.
Oh my goodness.
I hate my radio voice. And my children who were helping me with
Right.
the show, Mom, get a grip.
Yeah, get a grip.
Get a grip. They couldn't believe me. You've been speaking on stages and you speak all over the world.
Right.
Now you're afraid to speak on radio? Yes, it's a different dynamic because
Well,
what I learned
Yes.
was to listen.
Yes.
When you're speaking, you're pouring out
Right.
and you're getting a response from the audience. So you feed off the energy of your
Of the
audience.
audience, correct.
But with earphones
I
on.
know. I know. That's not my
So you-
favorite.
you know-
No, not my favorite. I tried that for a while. With me, I like the idea that my audience is there. The person is right here. We're connecting. And like you're saying, you get the energy from your audience.
Right.
And that takes you to a higher level.
Right.
So that to me, it's exciting.
Right.
And that's what I enjoy doing.
What I really found for me was a whole new experience, and that is to listen to people with my heart
Yeah.
and not talk.
There you go.
When I first started in the radio, I thought I had to, talk. You listen, and I
you
had a
listen
very
first.
good friend who said, "Barbara, you're talking too much.
Who was
You
it?
let your
Johnny
guests. You ask
Carson.
questions."
Johnny Carson was the best TV host in the world because what he did was he would talk and he would sit, and then he'd say, just go ahead. It's your show. It's your thing. That's what the audience is. So right at this moment, I'm going to ask you, you've also got a Lifetime Achievement Award from Obama,
Yes.
and your book, Dancing on Broken Legs, how does one get that?
They can get it through Amazon or
Okay.
Barnes and Noble.
There you go.
Absolutely.
Dr. Barbara
And it's an
Young's
ebook
Dancing
and a Kindle.
on Broken Legs. I cannot tell you how very proud I am to have you with us on Pink Lady Presents
Thank you.
for my audience out there.
It's been a pleasure.
Well, what you've done is, in a way, similar to my life and all of our lives, because we all have it. I call us survivors.
Yes.
I lost my first husband. I was 25 with 3 children.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
life
So
hits,
think
and
of
then
it.
and you
Yeah.
don't know
Yeah.
anything.
That's right.
Just graduated from high school and got married at 17. I mean, wham. And what do? You get up, you get out,
That's
and you
right.
get a life.
Right.
And you keep doing that because you have to believe in who you are. And you have to like yourself.
Absolutely.
And from what I'm gathering of all the things that you did, and tell people, the main thing is know who you are, like who you are, even love who you are.
Right.
And then you can begin from
But you
there.
need to know who you're not either. I kind of added that in later
No, I love
years.
that, though.
But
Who you're not.
It's not who
Because
you're
then-
not.
because then
Because
you're
you stay
satisfied.
right.
Right.
Because one of the things that I had a lot of women share with me, I said, you have been given a clear purpose and a plan. It's in your DNA. So it's stay in your lane.
Yes.
You don't have to try to be like someone else. Be who you are.
Right.
Love you. But it's important to know I can't be the Pink Lady. I can't be you. Well, I know I'm not. I don't have those
Correct.
abilities. So I'm not going to try to emulate. I'm just going to be myself.
Be yourself.
I think that's the greatest thing, that greatest gift for
So
me.
if you told our audience one thing to start to do, what would that be?
It'd be look in the mirror. Frankly, look at yourself. And remember, we all make mistakes. Don't look in the rearview mirror. And if you notice on an automobile, the rearview mirror is much smaller than the windshield. So I would advise you to start looking at the future. Because I see you in the future, and it looks much better than it does right now.
My dear friends, what can I tell you? Sometime in life you meet people and I cry a little because to me you exemplify everything that a woman of empowerment is. Dr. Barbara Young, a very, 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 very dear and sweet lady here.
Gonna
God
make
bless
me
you
cry.
for all you do.
Thank you.
Everything, for being who you are. And thank you for honoring us, to being on Pink Lady Presents. And to you, my public out there, thank you for watching us, because you've just watched a phenomenal lady. Please look her up. Please get the book, Dancing on Broken Legs. Please watch her show, because this lady will help you get where you want to go in life. God bless you all.
God bless you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna live till I die. I'm gonna laugh